Hey guys, so we are back this week and we are going to be working on our Catghan, the second square. This one is called Mouse Watching. So we've got an orange and white cat watching a gray mouse. So go ahead and get all of your bobbins ready for this crochet along. Okay, so what you want to get first is your crochet hook, size H or 5mm. And the first row we are going to start off with is using the green, or the N is the initial for that color. So if you're following along on the pattern, we are doing row 1 and we are getting our green bobbin to start off. Okay. Go ahead and make your slip stitch, put it on your hook. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double crochet in the third chain from the hook, and then again in the next or last 2 chains. So that should give you 3 double crochets. Okay, so that's your first square. So you've got row 1. Row 1 is just 1 green square. Next row, row 2, is going to be 2 green squares. So first we need to go ahead and chain another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Double crochet in the third chain from the hook and in the last 2, just as before. Okay. This brings us to having 2 squares on our hook, but they're side by side and we need to connect them somehow to continue on with row 2. So we need to flip the first one up and then go ahead and find that wiggle space, do your slip stitch, and then do chain 2 and your 3 double crochets in that same slip stitch space. Okay, so now we've done row 1 and row 2, both are green, just the green, and we're going to continue on doing another row. Row 3 is also green, row 4 is also only green. So let's come back at row 5 and we will work on doing some color changes. So continue on doing this, doing your chain 5. And if you followed along with our first square, you should know how this goes by now. So we're doing our double crochet in the third chain from the hook, and then the last 2 chains, and then we're going to flip the work up, connect, and continue on with that row, okay? I'm just going to do this one more time just to show, in case you are watching these not in the same order, that's fine. So go ahead and flip it up, and do your slip stitch to connect, chain 2, and 3 double crochets in that same space. Okay? So this is how you do your increases. So go ahead and come back when you have finished up to through row 4. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've done our first 4 rows here, all in green. We're going to go ahead and start on row 5. Row 5 starts with the green and ends with the gray, because we're going to start working on the mouse. So let's go ahead and do our chain 5. Your 3 double crochets starting in the third chain from the hook. Okay, flip your work up, join with a slip stitch, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the same chain, same slip stitch space. And continue doing this until you reach the last stitch. You're going to do 4 green squares. So go ahead and grab your gray yarn. You're going to come in from the back to the front of the work, grab your loop from your gray hook, or excuse me, grab your loop from your gray yarn, pull it to the back, and then through that last green loop, and pull the green yarn tight. Drop the gray tail, Now do your chain 2 and your 3 double crochets over the tail, so that way you're trapping the tail inside. It helps to begin securing that tail, and later you'll weave it in. Okay, so that is the end of row 5. Row 6 is going to be 4 gray, and then we're going to end with 2 greens. So let's continue on with the gray. We're going to chain 5, do our 3 double crochets starting in the 3rd chain from the hook. I'm making this blanket for my daughter who's turning 2 soon, and she loves cats. And so it's cute because every time I finish a square, she's like, "Kitty cat." She's knowing what it is. She doesn't know what it's going to be, but it's fun to watch her getting to see each of the cats. All right, so we're keeping going with the gray. Building up that mouse. Okay. Continue on. So we are, at this point, we are going to, you can do one of 2 things. You could carry this green yarn up if you want. That's fine. Or if you have another green bobbin handy, since we're going to be going back to green here pretty soon, you can always just get that out because it just depends on if you want to see, you might be able to see that yarn carrying it up that stairway there. So if you're carrying it up, that's fine. You're just going to make sure you're crocheting around the yarn until you get to where you need the green. If you're not, you are going to end up having to cut this tail off and then start up a new one over here. Okay, that's the way I'm going to do it, just because I think it looks cleaner, but it's totally your personal preference on that one. A lot of people hate tying in loose ends, and so they'll want to carry the yarn as much as they can, and it doesn't bother them if they could see the little bit of the jumps with the yarn. But I guess I'm a little OCD like that. I like it to be as clean as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut off the green, since I can't grab it from there, and that way I can bring it forward and use it later on. So we've done our 4 gray. We're going to go ahead and grab our green yarn, come in from the back to the front, grab that green yarn again, pull it towards the back and through the gray loop, pull the gray yarn tight, drop your green tail, do your chain 2 and your 3 double crochets around the tail to begin securing. My bobbin keeps trying to come too close. That happens. They like to jump around as the yarn is being pulled off of them. Okay, tuck the tail to the back. Do one more of the green. Okay. And that will end our 6th row. Okay, so row 7. We are starting with the green again. We're going to be starting with 2 green squares and then ending with the gray squares. So go ahead and do your chain 5, 3 double crochets starting in the 3rd chain from the hook. Okay, we're going to be flipping our work. Since we have our 2 colors here and you want to go ahead and start pinning, you can, if that helps you so you don't get anything tangled up. I'm going to flip your work up and then go ahead and do your slip stitch. Unpin whatever bobbins you've got pinned and then do your chain 2, 3 double crochets. This is the 2nd square of the row. And after that, we need to switch to gray, okay? So the gray is forward a step, so we're going to pull it tight. So we always want to pull whatever yarn we're bringing forward. We want to pull it a little bit tight so that way we don't have gaps. Okay, we'll come in from the back to the front for our color change, grab the yarn, and then pull it through our loops to connect. Do your chain 2. Now we're working with just the gray. We've left the green behind. Do your 3 double crochets and finish off this row with gray. Okay, so we have just finished with row 7. We're going to go ahead and go to row 8. Row 8 is 5 gray squares and 3 green squares. So we're going to continue on with the gray, doing our chain 5. And in line with using stash yarn, I'm using the gray yarn that we used in the first pattern on the first cat. So I still had some bobbins made up from that pattern. So it was nice, I'm getting to use them up. Okay, we're going to be flipping our work, so grab your, pin your bobbin, flip your work, do your slip stitch to connect, chain 2, and your double crochets. Oops. Okay, we're going to do, we've done 2 squares now, we're going to go ahead and do 3 more in the gray color. Okay, we've done 5 gray squares. We're going to go ahead and switch to the green. Okay, come from the back to the front, grab the yarn, pull to the back and through the gray. Do your chain 2 with the green and your 3 double crochets. And then you're going to finish off this row using the green yarn. So you're going to do 3 green squares. Okay, so we finished our row 8. Next we're going to start row 9. Row 9 will start with 5 green squares. So do your chain 5. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in the other 2 chains. Okay, we're going to flip our work here, so pin your gray bobbin. I'm running out of gray here, so hopefully I have enough. I do have another little bobbin here as well, so okay, flip your work up, do your slip stitch to connect, and then go ahead and do another 4 more of the green. That should give you 5 green squares. So I've done 4 of the green squares. I'm going to be doing 1 more green square, but I need to carry my gray yarn, and I'm going to carry it this time because I'm only going 1 square up with it. If I was doing more than 1 square, I probably wouldn't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it across that square that I'm going to work on. Grab my green yarn, go in from the front, yarn over, pull through, keep that gray yarn taut. Okay, chain 2, do your 3 double crochets around the gray yarn. You're carrying it, you're trying to hide it inside of your stitches, okay, so that it lays along the gray yarn and you won't see it. That's the goal here. All right, so we're going to bring our yarn to the front, do our hook from the back to the front, and then pull that yarn through to the back and through our green and pull the green tight. Okay, you don't notice it on the back. On the front, it's not too noticeable. It's this little jump right here, but you really can't see it very well if you do it that way. Okay, so make sure you bring your gray yarn to the front, do your hook from the back to the front, and then pull the yarn through to the back and then through your green, okay? And then you get your gray loop on there. All right, let's keep going with our gray. So do your chain 2, 3 double crochets. You're only going to be using the gray here once. Okay, only 1 gray square. All right, next we're going to go ahead and attach another of the green bobbins. All right, so grab another green bobbin. Come in from the back to the front, fold a tail of yarn over, and grab that loop with your hook, pull to the back, pull through the gray loop on your hook, pull the gray yarn tight, and drop your green tail. Okay, there's my tail. Chain 2, do your double crochets, and you're going to go ahead and finish off this row by making 3 green squares. Okay, we have finished that row, which is row 9. Go ahead and pin your bobbins so that we can get ready for row 10. Okay, so row 10 starts with 1 green square, so we're going to go ahead and do our chain 5 and our double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in the last 2 chains. Okay, now we're going to do our spin and flip. Okay, spin and flip. Bring your tails down so they're out of the way. You can remove the bobbins from your work and get those out of the way. Okay, so row 10, it just has the 1 green. Now we're going to go to the gray, then back to the green, back to the gray, back to the green. So we're going to do some color changes here in this row, it looks like. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to grab another bobbin. I'm going to grab another gray bobbin. Come in from the back to the front. Get your loop on your hook. Pull it to the back through the green. And drop your tail. Okay. Do my chain 2. Do my 3 double crochets, and this is going to make my gray square. My bobbins are trying to dance together. Alright, so we've done 1 green, 1 gray. What we need to do now is switch back to green, okay? Now, I know that I'm actually making the tail of the mouse, so I want to go ahead and just add another bobbin of green, just so that way I don't have to keep trying to jump yarn back and forth. Okay. So now, go ahead and do your loop on your hook from back to front again. All right. Drop the tail. Chain 2, do your double crochets. Okay. Now drop your tail to the back. We're switching back to gray to finish out doing the ear on the mouse, working on the ear. So go ahead and back to front. You can just pick up the gray that you left behind now. Chain 2, double crochets 3 times. This time around we're going to go ahead and do 2 of the grays, 2 gray squares. We'll just go ahead and do that together. I won't speed it up. All right. Okay, so we've done 2 grays. So we've got green, gray, green, 2 grays, and finishing off the square, the row, we're going to do 5 of the greens. Okay, so grab your green yarn. Since we're next door to each other, you're going to pull the green yarn to the back. The hook goes from back to front. Now you yarn over from the back, pull through the front to the back, and through your gray hook. And what you're doing is you're weaving that through, okay? That's to make it as invisible of a color change as you can. Okay, go ahead and finish off this row doing your green yarn. Okay, so we've gone ahead and finished that row. That was row 10. We're going to go ahead and move on to row 11, which starts off with 6 of the green squares. So pin your bobbins and get ready to flip. Okay, do your chain 5. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and the next 2 chains. I think I planned it, you guys. I think it's gonna have, I'm gonna have just enough of the gray to finish this mouse. Yay for scrap yarn. All right, flip your work and flip it up. Here we go. Go ahead and slip stitch to join and start your next row here. Now you want to go ahead and do another 5 squares in green. So you'll have a total then of 6 green squares. Okay, I've gone ahead and done 6 green squares. We're on row 11. Now we're going to go ahead and do 1 gray square and then finish off the row with green. So pick up your gray yarn. Since they're next to each other, you need to pull the gray yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, and then pull through the green loop, okay? Do your chain 2, 3 double crochets, look at that, guys. Whoops. That finishes off my bobbin. Whew. I barely had enough for this last square of gray on that one anyway. Alright, so I've done my 1 gray square. Now I need to switch back to the green. Okay, make sure you're grabbing the working yarn and not one of your tails that's left behind. Back to front, grab your yarn, pull to the back and through the loop on your hook. And go ahead and finish off this row making 4 green squares. And as I've gone through, I've gone ahead and cut off my gray yarns because I don't need the one anymore from the ear. I finished the ear, and also the one on the tail, you're kind of doing this little step tail, and so you really can't carry the yarn easily without it showing to get to the next one. So I went ahead and cut it off. I'll pick it up again on the next row. And since you're now connecting these 2 greens here on the end, you don't really need the extra bobbin of green. So you can go ahead and cut that extra bobbin of green off as well. So I'm going to do that here. Okay. All right. So now we finished our row. We finished, that was row 11. We're going to go ahead and start row 12. Row 12 starts with 2 green. So do your chain 5 and your double crochets. Oops. And whatever bobbins you have left, go ahead and pin them to your work. Currently I only have this other green one left, so I just have the one to pin. Okay. You're going to go ahead and spin and flip. Connect the green square that you just made to the prior row with a slip stitch. Do your chain 2 and your double crochets. Oops. 3 times into that same space. And we're only doing 2 greens for now. Okay, now we need to grab a gray. So get another, if you have your gray bobbin handy, go ahead and connect that now. Back to front. Okay. Now, what you want to do as you're working through is just kind of gauge, looking at the rows, the next rows forward and the row that you're on. So on this mouse, there's only 3 squares that make the tail. So this is going to be the last square that makes the tail, and then we're not going to have the gray anymore. So what I want to do is I will go ahead and continue on this gray yarn, or this green yarn, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and carry it with me. Alright, so go ahead and put your green yarn to the front. Hook is from back to front. yarn over, and pull through. Keep it tight, pull through your gray loop, and then pull your gray tight. Okay, go ahead and chain 2, and then go ahead and do your 3 double crochets to finish off the square. Okay, and we are going to be doing the rest of this row in green. So go ahead and finish off your row in green. You are going to need to go ahead and cut off this other green bobbin because you're not going to need it anymore. It leaves another tail. And keep going with your green. Okay, I've gone ahead and finished row 12. Row 13 is a solid green row, so you get your break from your color changes and whatnot. At this point, you can go ahead and cut off your gray bobbin. You're not going to need it anymore. Your mouse is done, and then go ahead and do your chain, flip your work, and do your next row on your own. I will see you back on row 14. Okay, we've gone ahead and finished that row of all greens. That was row 13. So what I'm going to do next, since we're finished with the mouse and we've got enough of the gray color there, is I'm going to go ahead and tie in the loose ends at this point, and then we'll start on row 14, which is going to be beginning the kitty cat. Okay, I've gone ahead and tied in all my loose ends. So that way we're starting off making the kitty cat with a fresh start here. It's never a bad idea to tie them in, especially if they're getting a little difficult to manage. So let's go ahead and keep going. We're going to go ahead and work row 14, and it starts with 2 white squares. So we need to add our white yarn, and with it being at the end of a row, it's a little bit more tricky, but it's not undoable. Go ahead and grab your white bobbin. You've finished, as I said, you finished the square completely. Now what I want you to do is I want you to yarn over, yarn over with your white and start your chain, okay? Pull your green yarn really tight, and I'm not going to use that little chain that it made with the green yarn. I'm not going to use that as part of my chain 5. I'm going to go ahead and chain 5 with the white yarn only. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to do my double crochets. You can start, when you do the color changes on the ends like that, you could start it with a slip stitch on your hook if you wanted to have a little bit of a knot in there to secure it. I don't. What I'm going to do is just really tie this end of the white in really well when I do my weaving in, so that way it almost creates the knot inside my stitching, and it's a little bit less noticeable that way. Okay. So we're going to be flipping our work, so pin your green, move your white to the other side, and do your flip. See, that time it's still got a little bit knotted. That's okay. There's only 2 on the hook right now, or 2 on the bobbins right now. Alright, so make sure you're not using your tail, you're using your working yarn here. But what we're going to do is we need to do 1 more of the white squares, and then we're going to go moving on to the orange. So we're not going to be needing this green right now. So go ahead and clip it off. There we go. And then do your slip stitch to connect your first square to the rest of them. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets with your white. Okay, and then what we're going to do is switch to orange, and we're going to do 7 oranges. So grab your orange bobbin now. So now what we're going to do is do our change of color to the orange color. So come in from the back, Grab that loop that you've made with your new color, pull through to the back and through the white loop on your hook, drop your orange tail, and chain 2 with the orange, then do your double crochets around the tail to secure. And you're going to go ahead and work another 6 more of the orange squares, and that will give you a total of 7 orange squares, okay? Okay, I'm just finishing up on that last orange square that gave us 7 orange squares. Next, we need to go ahead and attach the green background color. Okay, come in from the back to the front, grab your loop, pull to the back and through the green or through the orange loop that was already on your hook, drop your tail, chain 2 and double crochet around the tail to secure 3 times. Makes your first square. Now we're going to go ahead and continue crocheting with the green for the remainder of the row. You're going to make another 4 more squares for a total of 5 green squares. Okay, so we finished that row with our 5 green squares. So next we're going to go ahead and do the next row, row 15. We start with 6 green squares. So let's go ahead and pin our work. We should have 3 bobbins attached. So pin the 2 that you're not using. Do your chain 5 in green. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in the last 2 chains. Okay. Spin your work and then flip it. Okay. And take away the bobbins so that you're free to work your stitches. Okay, go ahead and do a slip stitch to connect. Chain 2 and then go ahead and continue on with the green for another 5 more squares, and that should give you 6 green squares. Okay, I've finished the 6th green square. Now we're going to switch over and do 6 orange squares. So we are next door to our orange yarn. So let's go ahead and bring the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, pull through, and then through your green hoop, and chain 2 with the orange, and do your 3 double crochets to finish off that square. After that, you're going to go ahead and continue on with the orange, another 5 more squares for a total of 6 orange squares. Okay, we've done 6 orange squares. Now we are going to go ahead and attach the white yarn and do 3 white squares to finish off the row. So come in from the back, yarn over, pull through, and pull through that last orange loop. And then go ahead and finish off your row with your white yarn. Okay, we've finished off the row. So row 15 is done. We're going to go ahead and start row 16. Row 16 starts with 4 white squares. Let's go ahead and pin our other yarns back. You should have 2 additional still on your work, 1 orange, 1 green. Okay, go ahead and chain 5. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in the last 2 chains to create your first square. I hope you're finding these videos helpful and not too redundant, but I know some people like to follow along with the designer, so that's why I'm making them. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and swirl our work and flip it, okay? Swirl and flip. Okay, so go ahead and continue on. We're going to do our slip stitch to connect, our chain 2, and our 3 double crochets. And you want to go ahead and do an additional 3 more white squares, so you should have a total of 4 white squares to start our row. Okay, we've done 4 white squares. Next we're going to do 5 orange squares. Since we're next door to our orange yarn, we're going to pull the yarn tight, bring it to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, pull through to the back and through the white loop. Do your chain 2 and your 3 double crochets to start your first square of orange. And then you're going to do another, after this square, you're going to do another 4 more squares. Again, we're going to have a total of 5 orange squares. Okay, we've done our 5 orange squares. Next, we need to switch back to our green, and we're going to go ahead and finish off the row using our green yarn, and that'll give us a total of 7 green squares. Yarn hook from back to front, yarn over, pull through, and pull through that orange loop. Chain 2. 3 double crochets in the same space as you used your slip stitch, or you did your slip stitch, to create your first square, and then go ahead and do an additional 6 more, totaling again 7 green squares. Okay, we've gone ahead and finished that row. Go ahead and pin your bobbins. Okay. So row 17 starts with 8 of the green squares. So go ahead and chain your 5, double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in the last 2 chains. Oops. Okay. Spin your work, flip it, slip stitch in the next square to connect, chain 2 and double crochet 3 times in the next one. That starts your next square. We are going to be doing a total of 8 green squares. You've done 2, so let's go ahead and do another 6 more green squares. Okay, so I'm finishing up my 8th green square here. Next one is going to be 3 of the orange. Since we're next door, go ahead and bring your yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, and then pull through, tighten the green yarn, chain 2 and do your 3 double crochets, and then do 2 more of the orange. Okay, so that's 3 orange squares. Now we're going to go ahead and do the eye, one of the 2 eyes of the cat. I still have black yarn from my last, so I'm going to try to get this used up. There's not much on here, but all I need this for is to make 2 eyes, so that's going to be 2 squares and that's it. So go ahead and fold over your yarn, come in from back to front, grab your black yarn, and pull through. Okay, after this we're going to be switching to white, so you don't need your orange right now. Go ahead and drop that. Chain 2 and double crochet 3 around the tail of the black yarn. Okay, so there's the first eye. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to the white now. So again, hook from back to front, yarn over, pull through and pull through both loops there to connect. Chain 2, double crochet 3 in the same slip stitch space. Oops, there we go. And we're going to do 5 whites total. Okay, so this is our first. We're going to do 4 more, and I will meet you back at the end of this row. Okay, we finished that row. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to row 18. We start with 8 of the white squares. So go ahead and pin your bobbins. At this point, you can go ahead and cut off the black bobbin because you're not going to need it right now. Did its job. It made our 1 eye. Okay, now go ahead and chain 5. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and the next 2 chains, making your first white square of this row. Okay, grab your work, spin, and flip. Pull out your bobbins. Connect this square to the next in this row. Okay, with the slip stitch, do your chain 2. And then your crochets here to create your square, your 3 double crochets. And again, you need 8 whites. You've made 2 white squares, so go ahead and make 6 more. Okay, so I've actually done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 8 white squares, and I noticed that our orange is down here. So either cut this end off and then join another one to get your orange up here, or you can carry it through. I'm going to go ahead and just carry it through because I'm only going to carry it 1 square. So go ahead and do your slip stitch to connect around that orange yarn. Chain 2, double crochet around the orange yarn still 3 times. Okay. All right, now drop your white, grab your orange, go from back to front, yarn over, pull through. Okay, there we go. Do your chain 2, and with the orange, you're only going to be doing 1 orange with this one. So do your 1 orange. Okay, after that, we're switching to green, and we are going to finish off this row, row 18, with 9 green squares. So, my bobbins are dancing again. Okay, so back to front, grab your green, pull it through to the back and through that green loop. Pull the loop tight, the orange loop tight, chain 2, and go ahead and finish off this row with your green yarn. Okay, so we've gone ahead and finished that row. Pin your yarns back with your bobbins. Okay. All right, next row we are going to work on starting the muzzle part of the mouth part, excuse me, of the cat. So first we do quite a few of the green though. We're still working the background, so do your chain 5. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in the last 2 chains. I hope this is getting easier and easier working crochet corner to corner. Once you get the hang of it, I think it's just the color changes and any little bumps in the road along the way as you're flipping through colors that make it tougher, I think, so it's kind of nice to work together on it. Okay, so go ahead, and we've already flipped our work. I'm doing my connecting square here with my slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. That gets me my 2nd square. With green, we need to do a total of 10, so we need to do 8 more green squares. So go ahead and do that now. Okay. Just finished off that last of the green, which is 10 green squares. Now we're going to switch and do 2 white squares. Okay, so this orange is done. So go ahead and cross it off, cut it off. Switch to your white. Yarn in from the back to the front, pull through, tighten that green yarn, and do your squares here in white. So again, we want 2 white squares. There's one more, slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Okay, so we've done our 2 white. We are going to switch to orange for only 1 square. This is part of the muzzle. Then we're going to switch back to white for the rest. So get your orange back. yarn from back to front, pull through a loop and through the white. I'm going to go ahead and carry my white forward along with the orange tail there. So grab your, okay, this can get a little tricky here. My yarn is wanting to connect with each other. Okay, there we go. Let's see here. Okay, so you want your orange tail and your white yarn laying over the top. Chain 2 and double crochet around the white yarn 3 times. Okay. Drop your orange tail to the back. Also drop your orange bobbin yarn and grab the white. Bring your white to the front. Hook from back to front. Yarn over. Pull through. And pull through the orange loop. Okay. So now you got your white back. You're going to go ahead and do chain 2 and double crochet 3 in that same slip stitch space. Okay. And again, we're going to go ahead and do the rest of this row in the white. So we've done 1 square. We've got 5 more squares to do. I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, so we finished that row. Go ahead and pin your bobbins. This orange yarn we're not going to need. So let's go ahead and cut it off. Pin your green bobbin. Mine is almost gone, so I will have to switch bobbins here on that space, but we'll do that in a little bit here. Okay. Chain 5. Double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook and in the last 2 chains. And for this row, this is going to be row 20. This is our last increasing row. So after this, we're going to start going towards the other corner by decreasing. Okay, so spin your work, flip it, slip stitch with your white, chain your 2, and double crochet 3 times in the next one. Let's continue on with the white. We need to have a total of 7 white squares to start. I've got 2 here, so let's go ahead and do another 5 more. Okay, I'm finishing up the last of the white squares. Now we're going to go ahead and switch over to pink for 1 square. This is going to create the nose of the cat. Since I'm only doing it for 1 square, I never actually created a pink bobbin, so I'm just going to grab my pink yarn. I'm using Impeccable from Loops and Threads. Okay. Back to front. Make your loop. Grab it on your hook, pull back. Okay. Now, after the pink, we are going back to the white. So go ahead and carry your white on. Lay that over. Okay. Chain 2 around the white and your tail of your pink yarn. And then go ahead and double crochet 3 times. Okay. Bring your pink tail to the back. Drop your pink yarn and grab your white yarn. All right. We're going to go ahead and do our yarn to the front, hook from the back to the front, grab the yarn, oops, okay, and through your pink loop. You're going to tighten that pink loop, keep everything snug, and then go ahead and continue on with the white yarn. We're going to be doing 2 white squares, that's it, just 2. Finish off working that forehead area, just above the nose of the cat. Okay, 1 more. Okay. Now go ahead and switch to the green. So since we're next door to each other, we're going to go ahead and bring the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, pull through, and pull through that white loop. Chain 2, do your 3 double crochets to get your first square, and then go ahead and finish off this row doing the white yarn. As you can see, I'm running out of this green on this bobbin, so throughout the last of this row I'm going to go ahead and change bobbins and get some more green on there. If you have the same problem, go ahead and do that as well, and go ahead and finish off the row, and we'll come back and figure out how to do the decreasing together. Okay, we've gone ahead and finished to the end of row 20. So now we're at the corner and we're going to begin decreasing. So in order to decrease, what you want to do is, instead of chaining 5, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to flip our work and we're going to do our slip stitch in the prior square to connect, and then chain 2 just as before and do your 3 single crochets into that space. So you never worked on a 5 chain. You never did your square on that chain. You just did 3 chains to go back up the prior square, connect, and then add that extra 2 to get to your next square here. So now you've got this corner starting, and we're going to keep working back up our row, row 21. It calls for 10 green squares. So I'm working on green square number 2. So I'm going to need to do 8 more. And I will see you after those 8. Okay, I've finished the first 10 squares of row 21. They're all green. Next we're going to do 2 white squares. So since they're next door to our white, we're going to pull the yarn to the back, get our hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, and then pull through. 2 chain, 3 double crochets in the same slip stitch space. And then you're going to want to do 1 more of the white after this. Okay, we've done our 2 whites. Now we're going to go and get our orange bobbin. We're going to do the other side of the muzzle, or the nose, however you want to, the mouth part. Okay, so go ahead and go from back to front on the pink. Oops. Finding that wiggle space. Get your loop on your hook. Pull through to the back and through your white. Carry your white yarn, guys, okay? Because we're going to use the white for the rest of this row. So go ahead and lay it over your work. Grab your working yarn. Now do your 2 chain and your 3 double crochets with the orange around the white yarn and keeping it inside of our stitches. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and drop our orange, pick back up our white. Okay. We're going to bring our yarn of white to the front, hook from back to front. Okay. Grab your yarn and pull through to the back and through that last orange loop to connect. Now do your chain 2 and your 3 double crochets with your white. And then after that, you're going to finish off this row with white. You should have a total of white squares being 6 white squares. Okay, so we've done our 6 white squares. We're going to now connect it to this last part of the last row. And again, we're decreasing, so we do our slip stitch, we chain 3, pin your bobbins. Okay, you're not going to need the orange yarn anymore, so go ahead and cut that off now. And flip your work. Now go ahead and connect your chain 3 to the prior square, the top of the prior square. Go ahead and chain 2 more and do your 3 double crochets in that slip stitch space. And that begins our next row using our white yarn. Okay, we're going to start row 22. Row 22 starts with 8 white squares. So go ahead and make another 7 more white squares. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish off my 8th white square. Now we're going to be starting the other side of the face of the cat, which has orange spots on it as well. So we need to grab our orange bobbin. We're only doing one orange square on this one, so go ahead and grab your loop, pull through to the back, pull your white yarn tight, drop your tail of your orange yarn. Oops. Come on. Okay, do your chain 2, double crochet 3 times in that slip stitch space over your orange tail. Okay. Now pull your tail a little bit and pull it to the back. Grab your green. We're going to go ahead and finish off this row with the green. So I forgot to say, but let's go ahead and bring our yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back and through the loops. Chain 2 and double crochet the 3 times to get your green going, and then go ahead and finish them off. You're going to have a total of 9 green squares. Remember, we're decreasing at the end, so you don't want to go past that last square from the prior row, okay? All right, meet you at the end of this row. Okay, so we've gone ahead and finished the row. We need to connect to the end of the last row, oops, with our slip stitch. Chain 3, and we're going to need to flip, so go ahead and pin your bobbins. You should have 1 white bobbin, 1 orange bobbin, and your working green bobbin, okay? So flip your work, connect your chain 3 to the prior square with a slip stitch, chain 2 more, and double crochet 3 times in that slip stitch space with your green. Okay, so now we've done 1 green square. We need to keep going. We're going to do a total of 9 green squares, so we need 8 more. Okay, I'm finishing up my last green square. I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to the orange. It's next door, so let's go ahead and pull it to the back. Hook from back to front, yarn over from the back and pull through that green loop. Chain 2, 3 double crochets in that slip stitch space. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and do 1 white. So again, yarn to the back, hook from back to front when you're doing your color change. Okay, the next part we're going to do is we're going to do the other eye. So we need our black yarn for that. So go ahead and grab your black bobbin. Yarn hook from back to front. Grab your loop and pull through. Okay, now you are going to switch back to white. So let's go ahead and carry the white yarn with us. Okay. So we should have our black tail, our white yarn that we're carrying, and then our working black. Work 2 chains with your working black and do your 3 double crochets for the eye. Okay. Pull the black tail, bring it to the back. Grab your white yarn that you've brought along. Okay. Yarn to the front, hook back to front, grab your yarn and pull it through to the back and through the black loop on your hook, okay? Do your chain 2, 3 double crochets to start your white yarn going, and you're going to go ahead and finish off this row doing a total of 5 white squares. Okay, I finished the last square of row 23. So row 24 starts with 6 white squares. So let's go ahead and connect the last square to the prior row with a slip stitch, chain 3. Now let's pin our bobbins. We're going to cut the black one because it was just for one square. Pin your orange and your green. Okay, flip your work. Get your tails out of the way. You can take your bobbins off. Okay, slip stitch with your white to connect, chain 2 more, and 3 single crochets. You can probably see that I'm running out of white again. I am going to switch to another bobbin of white. Okay, so go ahead and we're going to be working a total of 6 whites. So while I connect this, go ahead and finish off doing another 5 more, totaling that 6. Okay, I've gone ahead and done 6 white squares. Now I'm going to do 2 orange squares to work on that orange spot. Come in from the back to the front, grab your orange that's waiting for you there. Pull the white tight, chain 2, and double crochet 3. Okay, get onto the next, oops, wiggle space here, slip stitch, and do another chain 2 and 3 double crochets before switching to your green. And we're going to do 8 green squares. So since we're next door, pull the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, pull through, chain 2, 3 double crochets, starts our first square off here with our green. And again, we need to do a total of 8 squares. So after this one, we'll do 7 more, and I'll see you at the end of the row. Okay, I've gone ahead and finished that row. Now we are going to be starting row 25. Row 25 starts with 7 green squares. So make sure you do your slip stitch to end the prior row, your chain 3, pin your bobbins, which I've already done, flip your work, do your slip stitch to connect, chain 2, and 3 double crochets to begin your green. Okay, again, we're working 7 green squares, so this is my first. I'm going to do 6 more. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've done the first 7 of the green squares. Now I'm going to pick up the orange. So hook from back to front, yarn over, pull through, tighten your green yarn, chain 2 with your orange, and 3 double crochets with your orange yarn. Okay, you're going to do a total of 3 orange squares. So this is your first. You're going to do 2 more before switching back to your white. Okay, I've done 3 orange squares. Let's go ahead and switch back to the white. Yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, pull through, chain 2, 3 double crochets. That gets your first square. Finish off the row, making a total of 5 white squares. Okay, we've gone ahead and finished our 5 white squares. We are done now with row 25. So we're going to go ahead and start row 26. And row 26 actually starts with orange. So what we need to do is finish off this row by connecting the last square to the prior row's square here. So do your slip stitch. Okay, we do need to do a color change, but you want to first do your chain 3. 1, 2, 3 with white. We're going to flip our work, so pin your bobbins. Okay, flip your work. Get your tails out of the way. Okay. Okay, now we need to switch over to orange. Make sure we're in the picture here. Okay, we need to switch over to orange. So you're going to come in from the back. Okay, grab an orange bobbin. So you need to get another one. Okay, create your loop and pull that through. Okay, by doing this way, you've got your chain that's along the side of the white square. You keep that in white, and now you can start with the orange up above. So go ahead and drop your orange tail, chain 2, and then do your 3 single crochets, or excuse me, do your 3 double crochets in that same slip stitch space. Okay, there's your first orange. You need to do one more orange. Okay, so we've got 2 orange squares. Now we need to go back to using our white. So what I would suggest is, since there were 2 oranges, I did not carry the white yarn. So go ahead and cut off that white yarn, bring it over, and now switch your color back to white, coming in from the back to the front. Get your white loop and pull that through, tighten your orange yarn there in the back, drop your tail, and do your chain 2, 3 double crochets in that slip stitch space. Okay, there's that first white square, and we need to do, let's see, 3 whites. Okay, so we're going to do 3 white squares. So I'm going to take my other bobbins off here so that I have room to work. Okay, so we've done 1, do 2 more, and make a total of 3 white squares. Okay, we've done our 3 white squares. Now we need to go back to doing orange and 3 orange squares. Okay, so we still have our yarn here. We're going to pick that back up. Since it's next to the other square, we'll pull the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the front to the back, and pull it through that white loop. Do your chain 2 and 3 double crochets. Okay, here we go. And after this one, you're going to do 2 more of the orange squares. Okay, we've done our 3 orange squares. Now we're going to switch back and do our background color, which is the green. We're going to do 6 green squares. So since we're next to where the yarn is, we're going to go ahead and pull the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, and pull through. Okay, go ahead and finish off this row using your green yarn, and I'll see you at the end of this row. Okay, we've gone ahead and made our 6 green squares. That finishes off row 26, and we need to start row 27. Row 27 starts with 5 green squares, so go ahead and just do your slip stitch to connect, chain 3. We need to flip our work, so pin your bobbins. Okay, and flip. Do your slip stitch to connect, chain 2, 3 double crochets to get your first green square, and then go ahead and do another 4 after that, giving you a total of 5 green squares. Okay, we've gone ahead and done our 5 green squares. Now we're going to go ahead and switch over to orange. We'll do 4 orange squares. So drop your green yarn, grab your orange yarn, hook from back to front, yarn over and pull through, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then go ahead and finish off doing the rest of the orange squares. Again, you need to do 4 orange squares on this one, so make sure there's 4, 3 more after this one. Okay, we've done our 4 orange squares. We're going to switch back to white. Okay, since we're next to it, we're going to bring the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, and then pull through. Okay, chain 2, do your 3 double crochets. And we're going to do a total of just 2 white squares, so just do 1 more. Okay, that's 2 white squares, so now we need to switch back to orange. We're going to do orange for 2 squares, and that's going to finish off this row. So go ahead and go from back to front, yarn over and pull through, pull the white yarn, 2 chain, and 3 double crochets, and then you're going to do 1 more orange square after this one to finish off the row. Okay, so do your slip stitch to connect, chain 3. Okay, we need to flip, so go ahead and pin your colors, pin your bobbins up. Oops. Those two got a little connected there. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Okay, flip your work. Alright, we've got our chain, so we need to connect it. So go ahead and do your slip stitch to connect. 2 more chains and 3 double crochets into that slip stitch space to continue on with the orange. After this one, we're going to do 1 more orange. Okay, that finishes off that orange. Go ahead and switch to the white. Since we're next to the white, we need to go ahead and pull the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back, and then pull through. Pull your orange yarn tight, do your 2 chains and 3 double crochets. Okay, with the white, we're going to do 1 more after this. So let's go ahead and do 1 more white. Pull my bobbins out of the way here. Okay, as you can see, this is all the white yarn I have left. I have other kinds of white yarn, but they're not exactly like this one, so I lucked out and found a little tiny ball left in my scrap yarn of this particular texture of white yarn and shade as well. So, okay, so we did our 2 whites. We're going to go ahead and do 4 orange. So again, we're next to it, so we flip the yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back and pull through. Pull your white yarn tight, do your chain 2 and 3 double crochets to get your first orange square, and then you want to go ahead and do another 3 orange squares. I'll see you at the end of that. Okay, we've done our 4 orange squares, and now we're going to go ahead and switch to the green background color to finish off the row. So go ahead and pull it tight, yarn to the back, hook from back to front, yarn over from the back and pull through, tighten your orange yarn, do your chain 2 and your 3 double crochets in that slip stitch space. And then after this square, you're going to go ahead and you're going to do 3 more green squares until you reach the end of the row. Okay, so I've gone ahead and finished those 4 green squares. Now we're going to go ahead and finish off this row and flip our work. Starting in row 29, which is our next row, all we have left is to do background color. So if you look at your pattern that we have here, we've just finished this row that has the edge of the cat. So all we have left is just this green corner to finish it off. Okay, so you can go ahead and cut off your extra yarns that you're not going to need anymore. So you should have 2 orange and 1 white. Okay, get rid of those. All you need is your green colors. Go ahead and make your slip stitch, 3 chain, flip your work, Do your slip stitch to join, chain 2, and 3 double crochets in that slip stitch space. And I'm running out of green, so I'm going to have to join another green here pretty soon. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys finish off this corner here. It's just going back and forth with green. You're not doing any color changes. And I will see you when we get to the last corner, okay? All right, have fun with your greens. Okay, I just finished the last square. I'm going to go ahead and connect with my slip stitch. And in order to get that point on the corner, I need to do one more chain 3, flip the work one last time, and do another slip stitch in that end. And that's what creates that point on the corner. Okay, so this is the end of mouse watching. What we need to do now, though, is we need to finish tying in our loose ends, and then we need to also make our border around the outside, which we'll use later on when we connect the different squares together. So what I suggest doing is, rather than cutting off the tail that you've got going here in the corner, you could just continue crocheting your single crochet border around the outside now. And I'm going to go ahead and do that with you. We haven't tied in our loose ends, but we can do that afterwards. Okay. So what you want to make sure you do is that the print side that's facing you, that's facing up, is the correct way that the pattern is. Okay, so you want the right side facing up. So as you can see, my pattern and my cat are matching. Okay, so that's perfect. That makes the single crochets going the right direction, so that when you attach them, the pictures will all look like they do in the pattern. Okay, so what you want to do is each corner is going to have 3 single crochets total, and there's a long and a short side to each square. So just take a look and see what yours has. You should be on the short side. Let's go ahead and just do 1 single crochet on the short side. Now you can see in between each square there's this space. You're going to single crochet once in there, and make sure these don't have to be really tight single crochets. You don't want it to pucker. On this side, you have this kind of like extra chain. This is where we did our chain 3 to connect. So you'll do single crochet in there. Okay, now you'll go again in between the squares. So ideally what you want to do is do 1 single crochet in the side of the square, 1 single crochet in between the squares. Okay, and do that all the way across. I have seen it where some crocheters will do 1 single crochet on the shorter sides, 1 in the middle, and then 2 on the longer sides of the square. So that's another option. It really just depends on the tightness of your stitching. I've tried both ways, and for me, when I was doing that extra single crochet on the longer side of the squares, it was giving me a kind of a like too much yarn. It was making my work weave in a way that I didn't like. So this way it lays flat when I'm done with it, and that's ultimately what you want. And as long as you're consistent, no matter what you do, that's what's gonna make it work for you, because ideally what you want is the same amount of single crochets on the borders of each of your work. Right? So that way when you're stitching them together, the stitches will match. They'll match up together. So, and I also wanted to say one more thing about borders as well while we're working on this, is that I had one of my squares that I was using a little bit of a thinner yarn on, and it made my square a little bit smaller than the other ones. And normally at the end, when we block everything, that would, for the most part, take care of any small size differences. But this was a little bit more than a small size difference. I felt like with the blocking it was going to be a bigger issue. I think it would have stretched the squares out too much to make it the size of the rest of them. So what I ended up doing was, during the crochet border, doing the single crochet border, I went ahead and just did two rows of single crochet. So I went around once and then I just went around one more time single crocheting, and that made it to a better size for when I go ahead and block it. So that's another thing that you can do depending on what kind of yarn you're using. If you're using acrylic yarn, or this one's a cotton, the green is cotton, some of these other ones, this orange is acrylic. These ones tend to be thicker, and so that should be making them about the same, but some of the softer yarns can end up making your work smaller, and so just keep that in mind. If you have too big of a size difference, you can always just crochet an extra single crochet edge all the way around, and that will hopefully take care of too much of a size difference for you. Okay, so we're at the corner, and right now I'm on the, let's see, I'm on the short side, so I'm going to do a single crochet. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the other side. Oh, nope, I'm wrong. I'm on the long side. Okay, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. Then I'm going to go on the other side and do 1. The other side of the corner, flip my work. Okay, go into the middle space, and then go again where you're doing 1 along the side, 1 in the middle, 1 along the side, oops, side of the square, and then in between the squares, and do that all the way around, making sure you've got 3 single crochets in the corner and 1 on the side of the squares and 1 in the between square space. Okay, I wanted to show one more variation on the border. If you're doing the single crochet and you're on an edge that has color changes, you can feel free to continue doing the single crochet edge, but also doing color changes to match the bottom or wherever that color change is on the outside edge. It will make for a cleaner look, so that is totally up to you if that's what you want to do. Let me just show you how to do that, and then you can make the choice on if you want to do the easier route, which would just be to do your background color all the way around, or if you want to do the route that takes a little bit more time and to match the color changes. Okay, so to match the color changes, what we'll do is when we get to the stitch or the space right before the color change, we're going to go into the space, okay, yarn over from the back with our current color, pull forward. Now with the final yarn over, we're going to switch to our other color. This case it's gray. Yarn over with that and pull that through. Okay, now drop the gray tail. You can weave that through and single crochet around it. You've dropped your green tail. Now you're going to continue on using just the gray yarn, doing your single crochets on this, 1 in each square side and 1 in each of the spaces in between the squares. Okay. Okay, and I've gotten to this space again right before where I'm going to need the green. So I'm going to go in with my hook, yarn over from the back with the gray. Okay. This will end up giving you more loose ends to tie in as well, so just keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to yarn over with my green and then pull through and pull to tighten. Okay, drop your green tail and then go ahead and continue on with the green with just single crochet. You can single crochet over the tail to get that locked in a little bit better. Okay, make sure you pull your thread so that way everything stays nice and tight. Continue on with the green. Okay, I got to do another color change here, so I'm going to go in, grab my green, pull up that loop, and then grab my white. Okay, go around my hook, pull that through, and then drop my white tail, and continue on now with the white, going around now we're going around the cat's face at the bottom, doing the white yarn, single crocheting around along the side of each square and still into the middle space. We're coming up on a corner here, so we're going to do our 3 single crochets around that square, 2 on the long side and 1 on the short side. Okay, flip your work. Okay, continue on. Okay, I've reached the space right before the color again. We're going to orange this time, so I'm going to pull forward my loop from the back. That gives me 2 loops. Grab one of your orange bobbins, and that final pull through is going to be with your orange bobbin. Okay, pull your threads tight. Drop your orange tail. Go ahead and single crochet now in the next stitch with your orange color, and then in the in-between space I'm locking in that tail of orange here along the side. Okay, tucking the tail to the back, and we've reached back around to the green area. Okay, so let's see, we're gonna do one more on the side, and then I need to go ahead and go in from the back to the front, grab my green, okay, which I need to cut away from the other area because I need it over here now. Okay, yarn over or get your loop on the hook, pull through, drop your green tail, and then go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch on the side of the square, now into the middle space, and continue on with the green until you get back to where you started. This is going to give you, as you can see, you don't even see the edge if you do it this way, because you're using those color changes along the outside. It's giving you a nice clean edge to use to connect to other squares, and it's not as jarring of a difference as doing it like this. This just shows you the difference in what the 2 different borders would look like, okay? So if you decide you want to use the background color, that's completely fine. It's going to look something like this. And if you decide you don't want to do that, you want it to look more clean, and you don't want there to be that extra little border noticeable, then I would suggest doing it this way, where you follow the color changes along the outside edge until you get all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to meet you back when we're all done finishing up the green and weaving in our loose ends, and we'll take a look at how the cat looks at the end of that.